Hey, my name is Justin Baldwin, and welcome to the Tequila Tuesday Show, episode 4. The tequila we're talking about today was founded by John DeJoria and Martin Crowley. Now, I'll give you a quick backstory because it's really cool how luck played a big part in the founding and growth of this tequila brand we're talking about today. So John and Martin were really good friends, and Martin was going to Mexico on a business trip. He was an architect at the time. So, being that there were no really good tequilas making it to America, they were all staying in Mexico, not being imported. John told Martin, hey, I want you to bring me back a really good bottle of tequila. So when Martin comes back, he has a beautiful hand-blown bottle of tequila. Him and John start talking, and they decide they're going to try their hand at forming a tequila brand. So they booked their flights to Mexico. On that flight, they met a man by the name of Francisco Alcaraz, who happened to be a chemical engineer and distillery consultant. How crazy is that? The one flight, the 1 year, the 1 month, the one day they decided to fly, they meet this man. So they start talking to him and working with him to learn from him, and so he can help them really get started. So in 1989, the first 12,000 bottles of this tequila were produced. And they were trying to go to companies, trying to get them to partner with them and distribute it and help them. But they just got laughed at because, 1989, $40 a bottle. So you can imagine why they got laughed at. They tried Jack Daniels, they tried other companies, but meanwhile, there was this man by the name of Ed Brown who became familiar with this tequila brand because of his dad. And so one day, Martin Crowley decided to go to Seagram's to try to develop a partnership with them. Well, they did develop a partnership and they did sign a contract. The issue is the contract was extremely in favor of Seagram's and really kept Martin Crowley from being able to do anything with the tequila brand that he was trying to nurture and grow. So this weird fate thing happened. Martin sued Seagram's and won. So they were able to break away, luckily, from Seagram's because the contract they were in really took advantage of their lack of knowledge of the spirits industry. So Ed Brown comes into play because Ed Brown eventually, later on down the road, gets a job with Seagram's. And he starts talking with Martin Crowley and John DeJoria, who was really busy at the time building and working on the Paul Mitchell hair care line of products. That's probably where you've heard that name before. So Martin was really left to bear the major load of building this tequila brand at the time. So all of a sudden, Ed Brown is working with Seagram's. He is getting a lot of knowledge in the spirits industry, making really big connections. All of a sudden, Seagram's decides to move his job position to Asia. Well, Ed was not having it, so he quit. And at the same time, this tequila company was looking for a CEO. So they start talking, they hire Ed Brown as CEO. And that's really when this tequila brand really started growing, really started making a name for themselves as a brand. And it has developed into the #1, world's biggest, without a doubt, #1 premium tequila brand on the planet. Hopefully by now you know what it is. If you do not, it is Patron. 1989 they started. 2018 they sold to Bacardi at a valuation of $5.1 billion with a B dollars. So, how did it happen? Fate and a lot of luck and a lot of hard work. So, let me tell you a little bit about Patron. Not only are they the #1 biggest premium tequila brand on the planet, but their process is really, really important. So, not only do we try tequilas on the show, but we try to learn a little bit as we go along the way. So when they cut their agaves, from the ground, they go into brick ovens. As we've talked about before, if you're just now joining us, the premium tequila brands of the world use brick ovens to cook their agave. So, Patron cooks their agave for 70 hours. After that is removed, they use a rolling mill. Now, that is for their normal line of tequilas, like the Patron Silver, Reposado, Añejo, but there is such thing called a Tahona press, and that is the traditional way of making tequila. It's a lot more labor intensive, costs a lot more money, so the tequilas that use that have a higher price point. So, side note, this is a small bottle, I know, but they make a gigantic bottle like a big bar or restaurant would use. Then they have the normal size. Then they have every size down, all the way down to a single shot bottle of the Patron Silver. So, little fun fact there. So they got, whatever your budget is, they got you covered. But they also have a line that uses the Tahona press to crush the agaves, which produces a smoother tequila. And that is their Rocca line. I'll talk about that and try that for you here in maybe the next few weeks. So, they use brick ovens, cook the agave for 70 hours. For the tequila, the Patron Silver, for instance, they use the rolling mill, which is a little bit more modern way of crushing the agave. Then, that ferments for 3 days. They distill it in copper pot stills, which, if you've been with us before, you know that copper pot stills give it a better flavor versus stainless steel. Copper pot stills are more expensive to get, more expensive to maintain. That's why a lot of tequilas opt for stainless steel copper pot. Not copper pots, but stainless steel stills. So, after they're cooked, after they are crushed, after it is fermented, they are bottled. Now, what's really cool, and one thing I love about the Patron brand and company, is that every bottle is hand labeled. They use Portuguese cork to seal their bottles, and then this sticker is put on. There are real people in a real room in Mexico doing that, not a machine. So I love that about this company, that they employ people to do a job that very easily could be done by a machine. So, also the NOM number. If you've heard before, the NOM lets you know who the distillery is. 1492 is the distillery of Patron, and it is the only tequila that the distillery makes. It is Patron's distillery, which is, again, very cool to me. They can focus on one brand. The brand culture flows through the whole process. Also, when it is hand bottled, regardless of the size of the bottle, they number the bottle, and then the person that labeled it and did the process signs it. This is real ink, real initials. This isn't screen printed. Every bottle will have the handwritten bottle number and the signature of the person. That makes every bottle semi-collectible. It gives you a real feel that real people really put time and effort into producing this bottle and producing this tequila and giving you a product that they can be proud of and that you'll love. Also, the bottles are not made in a factory somewhere. They employ glass artisans to make every single bottle. Again, employing people to do a job that a machine could do. Really helping out the community that they are a part of. Makes you feel good about spending your money with a tequila that does that. Also, so everything is hand bottled, is sent off. Patron also offers educational classes after hours for its employees. They've partnered with local universities to make it less expensive for their employees to go to college there. Who does that? Really cares about their employees. Now, as far as the earth goes and staying green, Patron is a leader in that also. So during the process of making tequila, water is used. After the agave is crushed, water is put in there and the mixture is then fermented. Patron has developed and installed their own reverse osmosis process so that they can reuse 70% of the water that is used instead of it being used in there and then thrown away. 70%. They also installed a natural gas pipeline to reduce their CO2 emissions. 200 tons on average is what they reduced prior to using this natural gas pipeline. They reduced their CO2 emissions by an average of 200 tons a year, starting from 2016. Then they use the agave that isn't used, that doesn't make it to the tequila because there is a byproduct. They use that and turn that into fertilizer for their grounds and the agave fields. Also, they had to expand because when you're the world's biggest, you got to stay on top. There were 3,000 trees in the way. Instead of cutting the trees down, they had them transplanted and planted somewhere else. 3,000 trees. So they're reducing their emissions. They're making sure they don't waste any water, hardly. They are replanting trees, and they donate to orphanages. They donate to feed the hungry in their community. And in Mexico, like, this company not only cares about the tequila that they produce, but their employees and the environment around them. And that is something that is, in my opinion, something to really be proud of. Something that you can feel good about whenever you buy and consume the tequila. So, without further ado, I have chosen the Blanco, and here's why. So, if you're new to tequila, Blanco means that it has been aged 60 days or less. Now, if a tequila has been aged at all and is still considered a Blanco, there'll be a green hue to it. So, as you can see, there's no green hue. People use Blanco most in margaritas and mixed drinks because it's a whole lot fresher. It hasn't been aged at all. So it really allows you to get the real effect of the tequila. Nothing can be hid in the aging process or anything like that. So, whenever you smell a tequila, you don't want to put your nose right into the bottle like you would, right into the glass like you would with wine, because the alcohol volume is a whole lot higher. So it'll really just burn everything and you won't be able to really enjoy anything at all, really, as far as smell goes. Because 80%, up to 80% of your taste is accumulated from smell. So, as we swirl it around, you can see the ring going around where it was swirled, and you can see the legs dropping down, and that's from the sugar content in it, letting you know that it is in fact a premium tequila because the legs are very slim and slender and they don't fall super fast. And I'll get into what the legs are and what I'm talking about here in the next few weeks. I'll make a video on that to show you some education. So, really got some agave in there. And a little bit of citrus. Let's see. Very easy to drink. Even as a Blanco, if you remember episode 2, we tried a Blanco that was very, very harsh. Nothing against the company, but it's definitely very smooth. A light pepper finish at the end. Definitely some citrus and agave because it is a Blanco. An excellent, excellent made tequila for sure. Now, whenever you're tasting a tequila, number one, you don't want to stick your nose all the way in there, but you just want to let the tequila kind of sit on your tongue for maybe 1 or 2 seconds. Because there is so much alcohol by volume in it, you don't want to sit there too long or it'll just completely cleanse and wipe out everything and kind of numb your tongue. But I definitely recommend the Patron Silver. Really any tequila that Patron produces. Now, depending on your budget, they have what's called Grand Patron. I'm sure you've seen it either in the glass case or somewhere in the ABC store encased. $250, $300 depending on which Grand Patron you get. One day I'll make a video on those and kind of talk to you about why there's so much and what goes into producing them. But I definitely recommend that you at least try Patron Silver in your drinks. It'll really bring out a freshness and a very good flavor at the end of it, and really just lighten everything up because of how it's made and how good it actually tastes. As always, thank you so much for letting me try this tequila for you. Thank you for listening and your interest in the company and what goes on behind the scenes. As always though, enjoy a drink, drink responsibly, and here's to your continued health, wealth, love, and happiness. I'll see you next week.